Sunday school class, and as I'm walking here, I'm going, my load feels a little bit light, and I don't understand why. What am I forgetting? What am I forgetting? I went, oh, I never printed my sermon this morning. I should go do that. So I ran back into my office quickly and printed the sermon and made sure to have it with me. So I'm excited about this. I tell you, I don't know if any of you ever sensed the Lord teaching you patience. Anybody ever been taught patience? Ever? Oh man, me all the time. I am probably one of the most impatient people out there, and I know I drive my poor wife crazy sometimes. Man, we are opposite ends of the spectrum on that. And I must have sensed the Lord telling me that this sermon topic would come up, oh man, a year ago probably. It's been so much on my heart, and yet every time I've been ready to do it, the Lord reveals something else to speak on instead. And I've been just kind of patiently waiting, and just last week I sat down with someone from the church, and they began talking and saying, what do you think of talking about something like this on Sunday morning? And I went, thank you, Lord. Finally! It's finally time to preach that series I've wanted to preach for the last year. And it is finally time for it. So I am excited about this. And I'm really, really excited to share what the Lord has been laying, not just on my heart, but on the hearts of other members of the church as well. And that's really the origin of this, is that there are others who have been speaking to me about this as well. And so I'm excited to be sharing with you. How many of you have ever watched the program? I don't know if it still airs or not, but how many of you have ever watched the program before, Extreme Makeover Home Edition? Show of hands if you've ever seen it. Okay. So we all know the premise of the show. If you don't, here's the basic premise behind Extreme Makeover Home Edition. There's a guy, his name is Ty Pennington, right? So Ty Pennington goes out and they get video submissions for deserving families who have gone through some type of trauma or some type of difficult situation in their lives. And these families will submit videos to Ty and his team. And then from those videos, a family gets selected whose house is just in shambles. Their house is falling apart, it's not up to code, they can't even stay in the house, maybe they've adopted kids and now they have 8 people living in a 1-bedroom house. I mean, there's all types of stories and they always vary. And so the Extreme Makeover Home Edition team comes in and they fix the place up and they make it look brand new, and in many cases, they will actually totally tear down the house that was there before and just start fresh and build a brand new place. So, our sermon series is inspired by this idea of Extreme Makeover, but instead of Extreme Makeover Home Edition, we are calling this Extreme Makeover You Edition. And so what we're gonna ask and what we're gonna be praying about as we move forward is that I want you to take this as an opportunity to pause and look at your own life. And I want you to pause and look at where you currently are in your relationship with Christ. And I want you to look at it and say, do things need to change? Where do things need to change? Where can I grow closer to Him? How can I take the next step? It's very easy to say that we make a decision for Christ. But it's very difficult sometimes to live that out, isn't it? And even in our backyard Bible clubs, when we finished our week-long journey, Carrie's statement was, we need to make sure we disciple these kids. We need to make sure we give them something that will help disciple them. And so we've been aiming to focus on that because we don't want to just have them get saved and then forget about them. Because that just doesn't help anyone, quite honestly. Now, as you look at where you are in your life, let me give you a couple options of where you might be in your faith. Maybe you already have an active relationship with Jesus Christ. And you recognize that while you still have some issues to work through, on the whole, you're actually pursuing a godly lifestyle. Maybe you have an active relationship with Christ, you're working through some of those issues he's revealing. And tell me if this has ever happened to you. You work through something, you get on the other side of that one, and you think, all right, Lord, now I can just kind of coast a little bit. I mean, if we're being honest, right, that might sound terrible, but Lord, I've made it through. Thank you, Lord, for bringing me through that issue. Now I'm ready to just kind of live life in a pretty laid-back way. And then he reveals something else to you, right? And he says, oh, no, you're not done yet. Here's something else that I want you to address. And so now we realize that maybe there wasn't just that one thing, but now we're seeing that there's another and maybe another. And God just continues to reveal things to us. Or maybe we're newer Christ followers. Maybe we're not following Christ at all. And we just need to revamp our entire way of living. Maybe we need to give God permission to just gut everything that we have built and start all over again. I think the reality of what can happen in the Christian faith is that we can find ourselves getting stale very easily. We can find ourselves surrounding ourselves with other believers, and we just sometimes can forget our first love. And so our motivation is to look at an extreme makeover that may need to happen. Now, today we're going to start off by focusing on the foundation that we lay. Now, I don't know a lot about building, okay? But what I do know is this. If you're going to build a house, there are codes that you have to meet, okay? There are set ways that things have to be done. You have to have inspections. If you've ever built your own home, it's probably driven you insane. Because you probably think, I see heads nodding, yes, immediately, that you think something's done and ready, and then a code enforcement officer comes in and says, well, no, that's not right, and now you have to fix this, or you have to tear this apart and fix that. There always has to be a foundation, and the foundation has got to be laid before you can do anything else. You're not going to start picking out drapes and picking out countertops when you don't even have a foundation laid yet. And so we need to start, as we look at this idea of an extreme makeover, we need to be looking at our own foundation and what our foundation rests on. Because if you attempt to build a house, and the foundation that you attempt to build your house on is a terrible foundation, or they've used cheap materials, or they've used things that they shouldn't have used, your house may not be in great shape. You may run into problems pretty quickly. And so we need to look at our own foundation. I want you to open up your Bibles with me to Matthew chapter 7, if you would, please. Matthew chapter 7, beginning in verse 24. Now, I'm going to point out to you a scripture that you probably have heard before, that you might be familiar with. But then I also want to make sure to point out the context to you that maybe you've not noticed before. So let's begin in verse 24 of chapter 7. Here's what we see. Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against the house, yet it did not fall, because it had its foundation on the rock. But everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on sand. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell with a great crash. Guys, the reality is this. We can build our foundation on the blueprint that God has for us, or we can choose not to. And I want you to recognize this. Go to verse 28 for just a moment. It says, when Jesus had finished saying these things, the crowd were amazed at his teaching, because he taught as one who had authority and not as their teachers of the law. Now, when they're talking about when Jesus had finished saying these things, do you guys know that the author here is alluding to the Sermon on the Mount and everything that Jesus had taught beginning way back in chapter 5. Okay? So when he's talking about if you take these words and build your foundation on these teachings I've given you, He's not just talking about building a house on a rock and not on sand, but he is actually referring back to all of the different things that have been taught in the Sermon on the Mount or the Beatitudes. Things like murder, adultery, divorce, revenge, loving our enemies, giving to the needy, how to pray, storing up treasures in heaven, not worrying. See, these are all things that are being taught to us that we need to build our foundation on. And Jesus is providing exactly what we need in these teachings. He wanted to give us a godly foundation to base our lives upon. And as Christians, or those who are considering the Christian faith, we need to look at these teachings and decide what we're going to do with them. Guys, the Bible is wonderful. There are so many wonderful things for us to learn in here. But you've got to make it a point to decide what you're going to do with what's in here. Okay? The Bible can tell you not to take revenge against somebody. But what do you actually do when someone cuts you off in traffic? The Bible can tell you, we all have our issues, it's all good. The Bible can tell you that you shouldn't commit adultery. But what do you do when you're faced in that situation? The Bible can tell us not to worry, right? We don't think of that as a sin, do we? The Bible can tell us not to worry. But how many of us worry endlessly about things we can't control? How many of us will worry constantly and not take it before God and not trust in the word that He has given to us? We can build our foundation on God's blueprint, or we can choose not to build it on His blueprint. And we need to decide whether or not we want to let the teachings penetrate our hearts, or if we're going to ignore them and fill our minds with the same things the world teaches. Go with me now to Matthew chapter 15. Matthew 15, beginning in verse 16. We realize that if we're going to follow the teachings Jesus has given, and if we're going to attempt to lay our foundation based on the things that He has taught, then we need to protect our hearts. We need to protect our hearts so that things that are ungodly do not get in. So let's begin in verse 16 here. Matthew 15, verse 16 tells us this. Are you still so dull? Jesus asked them. Don't you see that whatever enters the mouth goes into the stomach and then out of the body? But the things that come out of the mouth come from the heart, and these make a man unclean. For out of the heart come evil thoughts, murder, adultery, sexual immorality, theft, false testimony, slander. These are what make a man unclean. But eating with unwashed hands does not make him unclean. Do you guys see how much of an internal thing is going on here? It is not just a matter of presenting something on the outside that looks clean. It's not just a matter of showing up in our Sunday best here, right? It's not just a matter of looking the part, but it's a matter of the internal stuff that's happening in our minds and in our hearts. And if we don't allow the Word of God to penetrate into our hearts, then what comes out is not going to be godly. And that's a really easy way to know where your walk with the Lord is, if I'm being quite honest with you. If I look at my life, and I look at how I'm responding to situations, if I am not actively pursuing God, reading the Bible, praying on a regular basis, can I tell you that my attitude often is really not very godly? Because I'm not filling myself with the godliness that I need. I'm filling myself inadvertently often with what